I would never want my daughter to date a black man due to the fact that they have this weird obsession with humbling black women instead of putting them in positions to be humble. And then due to the fact that a significant amount of them just genuinely don't like black women, and I don't understand why they don't accept that. And then, in addition to all of that to deal with, I understand and I recognize and I'm able to acknowledge the fact that when black women date outside of their race, they're typically treated way better from my experience and from what I've saw in life. They typically don't have problems with other women. They're typically well taken care of.
Hello, ladies. Welcome to Self Love Over Sacrifice, where we talk about all things related to women's issues. Now, I always said that if black women had high standards in their dating from day one, if they had high confidence and high self esteem, the way black men swear that black women should have, that we should raise our standards, I guarantee you the black community would not exist. If black women had high standards, the black community would not exist because the majority of black men would not get chosen. It would require you to not sleep with men who have criminal records, ex-convicts, give him sympathy cooch, put money on his books, do all the things that you should not do for a man that's not ready to start a family, to not be a husband and father. Women of other races require something of their men. I'm currently reading a book called The Sojourner's Passport, a Black Woman's Guide to Having the Life and Love You Deserve. The woman who wrote this book, her name is Khadijah, at least her last name is, I can't pronounce her first name, but it's N. Khadijah, okay? So if you guys want to check it out, check it out. In this book, she talks about how many men in our community have intellectual delays, mental health illnesses, onset issues that we don't even know about. And we all know that many of them lack the financial resources to provide for a family. We also understand how generational poverty has a negative impact on a child's development. It causes trauma, it can cause depression, low self-esteem, and the list goes on. She also addresses how back in the day, we had black folks who would say, before you marry into someone's family, you need to know who their peoples are. And what that means is that you want to make sure you as a woman is not marrying into a toxic family. Is his mom, is she well? Is she mentally well? Is his dad mentally well? Is his siblings mentally well? And we know that there's no such thing as a picture perfect family. If the majority of that family is crazier than catnip, and that's not a family you want to touch. You want to stay as far away from a man like that as you possibly can, because he has inherited, more than likely, some of those illnesses that his family has, that trauma, that generational trauma. You don't want no parts of that, because now your child is going to be affected with this nonsense. You got to look at the genes of these men as well. And I don't think many black women consider none of this at all. And most importantly, when you are talking to a black woman who is utterly desperate for a piece of Peter Whacker, you're not going to get through to her. She's not going to listen. She doesn't want to hear it because she feels like she has to have a man in her life. She can't function any other way in life but to have a man, which means that her children are going to be greatly impacted by this if she chooses to have children with a man who is generationally cursed, is what I like to call it. When you are dating, and we've seen this before, we also heard it before, you gotta date the best man for the job. You can't just pick any old man. And you also have to take in consideration that dating takes time. You don't just date one guy and then get stuck on that one guy and refuse to date somebody else. You date around, and not just within the black community, as we understand this community is incredibly toxic, ridiculously ignorant when it comes to dating, because we don't teach our daughters this stuff. And as a result of that, they choose the worst of the worst low-hanging fruit. I personally don't care if the black community goes extinct, because with the low quality men that we have, there are not enough of men, good, healthy, mentally well, financially stable black men to go around for black women, that you don't have a choice to date outside your race at this point. Long are the days of you telling your daughter that she can't bring home a white boy when your sons are bringing home a white girl, an Asian girl, a Latino girl, and the list goes on. When you have other black men who are saying, you know what, I love my daughter so much that she don't have to bring home a nignog. If she got to date outside her race to find a quality husband, I'm okay with that. You know it has gotten completely bad. And truthfully speaking, it has always been this bad. At this point, black women have become very embarrassed because now you can't scream black love anymore like you used to. Because so many of your brothers, your uncles, your cousins, even your daddies have been all over social media complaining about things that every other culture appreciates, like black women getting an education, black women being financially independent to provide for a family on their own, just in case your family members, your male family members, don't do right. Black women own their own homes. There was a black woman who recently said on a post that she was dating a guy. He was a black guy, of course, and she owned her own home and he was renting an apartment. And he said the only way they could get married is if she sold her home, because no woman should be owning a home without a man. So many of them are still stuck in that old patriarchy, white mentality that has been going strong for some years. And they're just not going to, decades really, but they're not going to let that idea of you need to dominate and control a woman go. They're just not going to do that. They don't want to work in partnership with you. And so many of you are now embarrassed that you don't have a choice but to leave them alone and let them go. I'm going to leave you with a video of a young man who talks about his disappointment with the men in this community, because I think it needs to be discussed. Young men are definitely looking at older men. Some of them are looking at them in amazement. Some of them get inspired by this foolishness. And while some, on the other hand, are disgusted and they do not want any kind of association to the older generation's foolishness because they don't want to repeat the same mistakes. Anyways, I love y'all. Tell me what you think. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe and share if you care. Until next time, I'll see you then. And stick around and watch this video. Bye.
As a 28-year-old black man, based on my personal experience, and I know it's not all, 9 times out of 10, when I have a negative interaction within my own community, it's Gen X black men. The men that came before me don't have much to provide. Y'all are sad, bitter, and holding on to systems of white supremacy. Y'all are homophobic, transphobic, perpetuate patriarchy. Y'all compete with younger black men while preying on younger black women. Y'all ignore the kids and don't provide them any guidance. Y'all have used and abused the women of your generation while ignoring the older generation. And the only people in this world that you show respect to is white men.